Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be diving into a new topic that I kind of came up with an idea for today. It's going to be another wrestling video, shocker, I know. But again, I am trying to make this channel a little bit more into just a pure wrestling channel with a few of my friends. I've been talking with a few of them to try to get the ball rolling. It's just a process with everybody else's work schedules and on how to figure out how to get this all set up with the technology and with the equipment that we have, basically. Some of them are out of state, some of them are a good distance away, and their work schedule is insane, so I don't know when we're going to be able to launch that channel, but until then, we are going to be diving into some topics that I wish to talk about. One of which is going to be the topic of today's video, which is how much the Paul Levesque era has improved the view of wrestling since the pandemic. Okay, so Triple H has now been in control for creative for a while now, and I think it's only fair that we can sit back as wrestling fans and wonder how good he has actually been at being in control of creativity with the WWE. I think personally he has done a fantastic job, especially when you compare it to the pandemic era, especially when you compare it to the 2010s. We're not going to dive that far deep into it today, but we are going to get into at least the pandemic era, compare it to the Paul Levesque era. So for me, with the pandemic era, you had the Thunderdome, okay? It was a great concept, it really was. But it became very clear from the beginning that the noise you were hearing wasn't from the fans who were watching, that they were audio clipped it in or however they were done, but they weren't authentic cheers or boos. And it kind of felt forced that as a fan watching, we were supposed to, oh, this person's coming out and they're getting cheered. Well, I know we all don't like them, so why are we cheering for them? Why am I hearing cheering for them when they come out when I thought we weren't supposed to like them? But I get why they did it, you know. I get why they decided to go with the, Thunderdome concept. It did give, a little bit more than just nobody in the stands and no noise coming, and you were able to hear Michael Cole and Corey Graves talking from the announce table during a live broadcast while watching it from home, but you could hear it as they were in the arena, you know what I mean? So, it was a mix of audio, and it just wasn't right. So they decided to go with something a little more filler added with the noise from the fans that was just audio clipped it in. And in my opinion, that it just didn't work, guys. And I get, they had to deal with, social distancing, and, they had, state laws that they had to follow. But again, it didn't work. Like with the WrestleMania where nobody was in attendance. Cut your losses and take a year off, take a break. Don't do WrestleMania that year, because eventually you just repeated the WrestleMania again, and except for the matches, you just had it still in Tampa. It was still, pirate themed, just like the pandemic WrestleMania. And in my opinion, I think they should have just taken a year off. It would have hurt financially, but it would have just been better for fans. watching it. It just didn't have that much of an impact without the crowd reaction to, for example, Drew McIntyre winning the championship from Brock Lesnar without any fans. It just didn't feel authentic, and it robbed a lot of fans, and it robbed Drew McIntyre of that moment to celebrate with fans and everything like that, because at that point, Drew McIntyre was a good guy, and in my opinion, him having fans in attendance that year would have just skyrocketed him to the top. So now let's go into the Paul Levesque era, and let me tell you why I think, in my opinion, we're looking at arguably the best era in professional wrestling in a long time. Okay? You know, they're bringing back things that we loved from the Attitude Era, but still holding back a little bit for the kids and making it family friendly and all like that. You're getting talent that you wanted to see pushed when Vince was in charge, but we never did because Vince never saw the potential in them that Triple H does and has. You know, yes, there's been some mistake. He has let some talent go that he probably shouldn't have, or, you know, he's held on to some talents that he should have let go because they just weren't WWE material. But anybody who runs a company and runs creative is going to have that problem, you know. But time after time, PLE after PLE, he has been making fans be able to be excited for the upcoming PLE. He's promoting things properly. He's booking things, storylines, you know, long-term storytelling, something fans, I've collectively heard everybody say that they want back. They don't want these quick little one-offs, you know. For example, Jey Uso versus Logan Paul for Saturday Night Main Event. There was rumors that it was going to be at Backlash, and fans started to say, well, that's not enough time to start a storyline. You only had 2 weeks to build it up. Okay, Triple H then took that and was like, okay, we'll give you 2 more weeks to build it up. You'll fight at Saturday Night Main Event, and it'll give us a championship caliber match with a month of a build-up. Okay, a month of a build-up is perfect for their first match. Okay, then you could do a couple more weeks of, you know, Logan calling Jay out, Jay calling Logan out, Logan attacking Jay, Jay getting some retribution, and then have another match. You know, you can make a rivalry last months at a time without it feeling like it's being dragged out. Now, if the wrestlers are stale or the storyline is just not entertaining, then yes, that's where it will dry out and be like, okay, we've been doing this over and over again. That was the problem with Liv and Rhea. Liv and Rhea was just until they couldn't go anymore, they kept booking Liv versus Rhea, Liv versus Rhea, Liv versus Rhea. Okay, get to the conclusion now. Okay, so now, in my opinion, there's a plus side and a downside to that. Triple H needs to, again, this is strictly my opinion, but I think Triple H needs to continue what he's doing, but with a little bit more caution on who he's pushing. What I mean by that is, I love Jey Uso. I was at Raw after the Royal Rumble, in Cleveland, when Jey Uso came out. The hype for that man was insane. That crowd's energy was insane. That was the first time that Jey Uso came down, did his whole entrance, and before he even spoke, you know, run it back, and started the theme music up again. That was the first time that he did that after winning the Royal Rumble. But then you started to see the cracks in Jey Uso. You started to see that, as a single star, he's good, but maybe main event material. And then they kept pushing this main event, Jey Uso. Okay, now you have the chance to be the main event champion, but then we're not going to put you in the main event of WrestleMania Night 1 or Night 2. Night 2 was understandable, Cody versus heel Cena going for his 17th title. That 100% needed to be Night 2. I don't think the triple threat needed to be the main event with Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk. I don't think that needed to main event Night 1. As much as I'm so happy for Punk to finally get a main event, it still feels cheap for me because it was only Night 1 main event. There was still another main event. So for me, Punk didn't really get the main event of WrestleMania. And that's nobody's fault, because back when this whole main event thing for CM Punk has been brought up, it was back when WrestleMania was only one night. It wasn't a 2-night event with 2 main events. Night event, main event, Night 1, main event, Night 2, AB, whatever it is. There wasn't any of that. So for Punk to want the main event and never get it back then to getting it now, it just feels a little cheap. You could have put main event Jey Uso in the main event of Night 1. Okay, that solidifies him being main event material while winning the main event title for Raw. Okay, that's just one thing I have in my opinion that Triple H needed to, realize, or, but again, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, I get it. The good things that I see from the Paul Levesque era are just the people he's bringing back, the people he's pushing for us to see more out of, to get behind them more, is just remarkable. I know we just went through the May releases, and there's some of them that I'm a little upset that left, but there's a couple of them that I'm like, well, they weren't doing anything, so it's better to let them go than just have them sit back in catering and never see them. But for now, that will be the video. That will be a video I'm going to go into more detail on as I break down comparative positive and negatives from each era to each other. So this week we did the pandemic versus the Paul Levesque era. In my opinion, the Paul Levesque era is definitely improved from the pandemic era. So next time I make a video, I will be doing, let's go with the Paul Levesque era versus the Attitude Era. Me personally, I love the Attitude Era. This one's going to be a little bit more detailed. This one's going to be a longer video. I'm going to do my due diligence and do my research and pick out the pros and cons from each era. We'll get more into the positive and negatives from the Paul Levesque era when I compare it to a era that I actually enjoyed. So keep an eye out for that. Give this video a like, subscribe, punch that notification bell so you can get notified about all these wrestling videos that I'm going to be doing and all these different ideas. And then you'll be able to share it with your friends. You'll be able to share it with your family. And hopefully, I can turn this channel into something so much bigger than what it is right now. I am hopeful that you guys will love this video, and there is more to come. Love you guys. Stay safe. Stay awesome. Peace.